Hi, I'm Dave Epstein. Welcome to Growing Wisdom in June. This is our June chores, our June gardener's calendar, some things to do in the month of June. So let me start with what I think is the hardest thing for gardeners to do, and that is enjoy your garden. You know, it's June. It's one of the great months of the year. Sit back, have a glass of wine, have some friends over, look around at your garden. You've worked hard, enjoy it. Okay, so that's number one. Let's talk about lawns. So, I continue to get rid of my lawn. More and more of the lawn disappears. We have more beds, but yes, I like lawn. You need the lawn to set the beds apart. And some things to do in the month of June. One is you may want to begin to raise your mower a little bit. Let the grass be 2 inches or so high, especially if you're getting drought conditions around your area. You don't want to water every day. Time and time again, I see people with their irrigation on every morning for 15 minutes. It is one of the worst things you can do for your lawn. Let's be clear about how you should water. The lawn wants 1 inch of water a week. It would love it if you gave it 1/2 inch on one day, waited 4 days, and gave it another 1/2 inch. That's the best thing. So how do you know? Well, get a rain gauge, put your irrigation system on, let it go for 15 minutes, multiply that by 4, that's how much rain your irrigation system's putting out in 1 hour. If it puts out 1 inch, you should water it for 1 hour if you want 1 inch of water on your lawn. If you want 1/2 inch, 1/2 hour. It's that simple. If you water for 15 minutes and you're only putting out 1/10 of an inch, most of the water is going to the top of your lawn, and that's not good. You're not encouraging the lawn to have deep roots. The deeper the roots, the stronger the lawn, the thicker the lawn, and the less you'll have weeds. I just don't believe it's good to have chemicals on the lawn if you have kids or pets, and chemicals just aren't great for the environment anyway. So that said, water less often and longer, water deeper. So that's enough with lawn. Let's go on to some other things. What about perennials during the course of the month? So a few things that you want to be looking for, of course, number one is weeds. You really want to look at your garden. So here we have some lamium here, and I've got some grass coming up. You want to go down, and you want to pull that grass right out.
Zooming in.
Get the grass out from the middle of your plants. It's only going to get worse. Here's a little bit of clover. Here's a clover plant that's coming up right inside. You want to get down, and you want to be sure when you're weeding, you really want to get the roots. It's not going to do you any good to just get the top of the weed. It's going to grow back. So get down, get the full root, get the plant out, and be done with it. So I continue to walk around my garden during the course of June. I'm always looking for problems. Is there something getting eaten? Is there something not doing well? So the other thing during the month of June is after plants have flowered, you might want to get in and start pruning some things up. So for example, here we have this viburnum, and I'm just going to go in there for a second. And one of the things I'm noticing is that over the course of this year, this has really gotten kind of big. This is a little bit lower than I want. So, June is a good month to take out some of those extra limbs, things that look a little bit bigger than perhaps you want them to look. So if you don't want to make huge branch cuts, you can also make cuts just to bring trees and shrubs in the month of June. This will give the plant a little bit more structure. June is a great month that you can tip back some of your trees and shrubs. You also want to prune some of your ornamental shrubs or hedges. For example, this boxwood here could stand a good shearing. We're going to have to bring this in, so that's another thing you can do during the course of this month as well. And the other thing I start to do during the month of June is I'm already thinking towards fall. I hate to say this, but it's June, July, August. By the time you get to September, in another 12 weeks, I can start dividing things, pulling up things. So I might take a notebook and make a note that, okay, this particular hosta over in the side garden next to Bob and Lisa needs to be divided. So that is a checklist thing that I want to do. If you have roses, they're probably blooming pretty good in the month of June. So one thing that you can do is as the roses die, you can look to prune the rose a little bit, and that will flush out some new growth. So for example, this particular rose bloom just about gone. If I just cut that off there, that's going to encourage the next bloom to go. And eventually, as these branches die off, I can continue to prune the roses a little bit. I'll get more blooms later in July, again in August, perhaps September, October, even into early November if we have a warm fall. If you have a vegetable garden, few things you should be doing in June, and you probably know this. One, check your water. Be sure all your vegetables are getting adequate water, either from rain or of course from irrigation. Also, you want to check for bugs. Look at your garden at least every other day. It's amazing how quickly something like a cucumber beetle or a cabbage moth can really take over your garden and start eating things, and you go out there a week later and your harvest is basically done because of the bugs. June's also a great month to plant another crop of radishes, put in a crop of beans, put in another crop of carrots. There's plenty of things you can place in during the month of June. If you had a bad May, you can put in new tomatoes. There's plenty of places where you can buy them. You can put in new cucumbers if something happened to them during the course of May, if you put them in that early. There's plenty of growing time left. Also, June is a good month to give your garden a little bit of liquid fertilizer, so perhaps some fish food or perhaps some other nice organic fertilizer that you can give your vegetables to really keep them going as they head towards the hotter months of July and August. So our last tip for the month of June is remember your hanging baskets or your pots around the house. Best thing you can do with these guys is water them. A lot of you are going to have to water every single day because in June, July, and August, the sun is very strong. The sun during the month of June in the Northern Hemisphere is as strong as it is all year long. So things dry out really fast. It may be wet in the morning, but by the time you come home in the afternoon, they're going to need water once again. Keep these guys watered and they'll keep you happy the entire month of June. For Growing Wisdom, I'm Dave Epstein.